Okay, so the lesson that I am sharing with you all today is called energy transfer. These are the standards I use for my lesson. 3.P.3, which is about energy transfer, RL.3.1, which is about asking and answering questions using a text, and then 1.1 empowered learners. This is about giving your students, let your students play an active role using technology, and also giving feedback to students, giving feedback to other students to improve their practices in the learning, in their learning, and in using technology. The ISTE standards I used was 2.3 citizen, which is educators inspire students to positively contribute to and responsibly participate in the digital world. Mentor students in a safe, legal, and ethical practices with digital tools and the protection of intellectual rights and property. The learning objective I used, the first one was the students will be able to complete a Google form on energy transfer exhibiting 80% accuracy. The second one I used was students will be able to develop a Google form on asking and answering questions exhibiting 100% accuracy. So, my hook for my lesson was I would put these three pictures up on the board and I would ask the students, what do you think is happening in these pictures? And they would be able to tell me what they think is happening in these pictures. And then I'll ask, is there energy being transferred in these pictures? And if so, how? This is where they would answer their questions. They will click on the Jamboard link, go to the Jamboard link, and here is where everyone will add a sticky note explaining if energy is being transferred in each of these pictures, and if so, how. Um, so I think this is effective because it gets the students thinking about energy and how energy can be transferred. The pictures are also something that the students are familiar with, so they have prior knowledge about them. It is efficient because it doesn't take up a lot of time. It allows the students to be engaged and it hooks their attention for the rest of the lesson. They are engaged in this lesson because of this hook. So they are allowed to ask and answer questions, and they're all able to the Jamboard allows the students to have the chance to engage and pitch in the conversation. It is enhancement because it builds on information the students already know. For example, the students are familiar with these pictures, but they are not familiar with how the energy is being transferred in these pictures. Then we'll move on to the next slide. Where is the energy? So I'll blow up a balloon and I'll put the balloon to my hair and I'll rub it around and my hair will stick to the balloon. And I'll ask the students, why is my hair sticking to the balloon? And they'll have a chance to answer. Then I'll have the students rub their hands together. And then I'll say, what is happening when you're rubbing your hands together? Once they all say, my hands are getting hot, I'll ask them, why do you think your hands are getting hot? Then we'll move on to the next slide. And this is the Ed puzzle. How does energy work? So the students will already have their computers out. They will click on this link and they will mute their sound. We all are going to press on play together. Me, including all the students, will press on play together. And once they get to the embedded questions in the computer, on their own computer, they will independently answer the questions. And then I'll continue to press play on mine. So we're all watching it together. But they all are individually answering the questions. When you click on the Ed puzzle, there is a note in the right hand side of the corner that gives you the directions to the Ed puzzle. I'll show you here. As soon as you hit play, the note will pop up, and then you hit play to the note, and it tells you the directions to the rest of the Ed puzzle. And then the rest of the questions will continue to pop up throughout the video. In that Ed puzzle video, it doesn't really explain why my hair was sticking to the balloon earlier. So I'm asking the students the question, why do you think my hair was sticking to the balloon earlier? And then they'll have a chance to answer. But this short video will also explain a little more with what the science behind it. After we watch that video, the students will work in partners to fill out this Google Doc. They can share the Google Doc with each other and work on it collaboratively. Inside the Google Doc is a graphic organizer that the students will fill out together. This is the graphic organizer. They'll put their topic in the middle bubble, and then the six surrounding bubbles is where they will put any information that they learned about energy being transferred from the previous videos we watched and from the previous conversations we've had. Then we're going to put what we learned into action. The students will move into groups and they're going to build their own model of energy being transferred. When they're building their model, they can only use the materials I provided for them, which is cardboard, rubber bands, toothpicks, tape, balloons, and one item of their choice. Um, and then once they finish building the model, they will create a Google Slide presentation. The Google Slide presentation should include pictures of their model, videos of their model in action, an explanation of how their model works, and an explanation of how the energy is being transferred in their model. Then it's time to share. Each group is going to share their presentation to the class. The groups that are not sharing will fill out the Google form, which is right here. This Google form is just asking questions about the group that just presented. It's for the students that are not presenting to give feedback to the students that did present, and then we will share all the feedback forms to each other. So I think this is effective because technology is being incorporated. All the standards, 1.1 empowered learners is being covered. The students are working together to deepen their understanding of the content using technology platforms. The students are also giving feedback to others using Google Forms to provide them with a chance to grow. This is how the technology standard is being covered in this part of the lesson. It is efficient because it allows the students with time to practice with their content and explain the content and transfer the content being learned into their own perspective in a time efficient way. They are engaged because the students are building their own model, showing information that they have learned. The students are engaged with each other. They are working in groups of four, demonstrating teamwork and how to use their time wisely. It is enhancing the students' knowledge because the students are listening to other students' ideas, allowing their ideas to expand. This also allows the students to think deeper about what they have learned and put what they've learned into action. Then we would move on to our summative assessments. This is a Google form. The students will fill out this Google form using all the information that they have learned from the lesson today. And then it's their turn to create a Google form asking any questions that they still have about energy transfer. Then we'll come back together as a whole group and answer the questions the students have. I say these summative assessments are effective because they're covering all the standards. 3.P.3, RL.3.1, and 1.1 empowering learners. They are asking and answering questions using technology, and they are demonstrating the information they learned about energy transferred using technology. These are efficient because they're not taking up a lot of time and they're allowing the students to show the information they are learning. The students are engaged because they are all individually working to complete the Google Forms, and this is enhancing the students' knowledge with using technology and is securing their knowledge of the content during the lessons. These are my references. And before we close up, I just want to talk about my lesson a little bit. I would say my TPAC lesson supports. I would say TPAC supports my lesson. TPAC stands for Technological Pedagogical Content Knowledge. This basically means that when you are creating a lesson for your students, you are including technology in your lesson. This does not mean you as a teacher are the only ones interacting with the technology. This means you are providing opportunities for the students to use technology in the learning process. For example, in my lesson, I did not only interact with technology while teaching, but I allowed time for the students to use technology in the learning process. I did this by letting the students watch an interactive video, create a Google slide presentation, give feedback using Google Forms, etc. The reason I say that TPAC fits my lesson the best is that I wanted to focus on putting technology in my lesson for the students to use throughout the learning process. I think this is just what I did. Whenever I thought about giving a worksheet or having the students write something down, instead I used technology to take the place of the worksheets and the writing. The learning theory I think that supports my instructional strategies the most is constructivism. I believe in a student centered classroom instead of a teacher centered classroom. This is what I had in mind when I was creating my lesson. I decided to let the students create their own models to show that they are understanding the content. I did this because I wanted the students to have a choice and freedom in how they are completing the assignment. I gave them guidelines, but they could take it upon themselves to do whatever they feel is the best to show energy being transferred. I also like this learning theory because all the students are going to have something different when completing this assignment. I believe others can learn from this. When all the students are sharing what they decided to build and why, this is helping the other students expand their thinking and be exposed to more ideas. I decided to do a Google form because the students can write whatever they want and write in the Google form. It is their opinion and no one else's. This allows the students to feel that their opinion matters and that their mind is valued, because not everyone is going to think alike or have the same opinion. When you let your students know it is okay not to be the same as someone else or like the same thing as others, this is when the true learning takes place, because the learning environment is changing and the students are feeling or